Hey there, and welcome. So, you've probably heard this term floating around everywhere, right? The Internet of Things, or IoT. It sounds super futuristic, maybe a little complex. But what if I told you it's actually all around us already? And get this, it all started with something as simple as a thirsty college student. All right, let's get into it.
Just for a second, imagine this. What if the ordinary objects in your life, your coffee maker, your car, even the traffic lights in your city, what if they could all talk to each other and talk to you? What if they all had a digital voice?
Well, that is the big idea behind the Internet of Things. And no, it's not science fiction. It's really just a gigantic network of physical things. Anything from a tiny sensor on a farm to a massive jet engine, all hooked up to the Internet, constantly collecting and sharing data.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the really clear definition. Then we'll dive into its surprisingly fun history. From there, we'll look at where it fits into the whole evolution of the Internet, break down how it actually works under the hood, and wrap up with why any of this really matters to you.
Okay, so first things first, let's cut through all the jargon. What is the Internet of Things really?
So this is the official definition from Gartner. It sounds a bit academic, right? A network of physical objects with embedded technology. But when you boil it all down, it's pretty simple. It just means we're putting tiny bits of tech into everyday things that let them sense what's happening around them, or even inside them, and then talk about it. Think of them as smart objects that can gather information and share it.
Now, you'd think a high-tech idea like this was dreamed up in some sterile, top-secret lab. But the truth is, its origins are actually, well, they're pretty quirky. And it all began with someone really wanting a cold soda.
So way back in the early 80s, some students at Carnegie Mellon were sick of walking all the way to the Coke machine just to find out it was empty. Their solution? They connected it to the network so they could check the inventory from their desks. And boom, that was basically one of the very first things on the Internet. A few years later, in 1990, we got an Internet-connected toaster. The actual phrase Internet of Things wasn't even made up until 1999. See, these weren't some grand corporate plans. They were just clever fixes for everyday annoyances.
And this quote from Kevin Ashton, the guy who coined the term, just nails it. It really gets to the core of this massive shift. For decades, computers were basically just brains in a box. They were totally passive. We had to feed them every single piece of information. But IoT gives computers senses. It lets them see and hear and feel the world all on their own. They're not just calculators anymore. They're becoming active participants in our lives. So yeah, this is way bigger than a smart toaster. What we're really talking about here is a whole new chapter for the Internet. It's the next big evolutionary leap, and it's all about digitizing the physical world in a way we've never seen before.
I mean, just look at this progression. First, the Internet digitized how we access information. Think email and websites. Then, it digitized business with e-commerce. After that, it went on to digitize our entire social lives. So what's the final frontier? Well, that's where we are right now with IoT. It's about digitizing the physical world by connecting not just people and data, but things and processes.
Okay, that's the what and the why. But how does this all actually work? I mean, how does a thing sense the world around it and then communicate that to the cloud? Let's pop the hood and look at the mechanics. The easiest way to think about it is as a simple four-step loop. Step 1. A device with sensors has to sense something. Could be temperature, motion, light, anything. Step 2. It uses a network to connect and send that data up to the cloud. Step 3. Up in the cloud, software will process that information, looking for patterns or useful insights. And finally, Step 4. Based on that analysis, it triggers an action. That could be sending you an alert, adjusting a machine, or maybe just turning on a light. So it's sense, connect, process, and act.
Now, that four-step process sounds pretty straightforward, but making it all happen actually requires a whole symphony of different technologies, all working together in perfect harmony. It's a really powerful mix of hardware and software.
Okay, at the very heart of this are a few core technologies. You've got sensors and actuators. Think of these as the device's senses and its hands, gathering data and then carrying out physical actions. That data travels over special, low-power networks, which are perfect for sending small, efficient bits of information. From there, it heads to the cloud, which is like the central brain of the operation. That's where big data analytics combs through everything to find those important patterns. But, not every decision needs to go all the way to the brain and back. And that's where edge intelligence comes in. It lets the devices themselves, through tiny embedded systems, make smart, quick decisions right on the spot.
It's this whole combination that makes the magic happen. This is all really cool technology for sure, but why should you care? Well, because connecting the physical world like this has huge, tangible benefits for all of us. You see, when you give the physical world a digital voice, you unlock incredible new possibilities. Take predictive maintenance, for example. Think about a giant wind turbine. Instead of just waiting for a part to break down, which could be catastrophic, sensors can detect tiny abnormal vibrations and report that it needs service before it fails. That's just one tiny example of how we get smarter automation and way deeper insights, which helps us save money, resources, and a whole lot of time.
So we started this journey by connecting computers, then we connected people, and now we're in the process of connecting pretty much everything else. We are, in a very real sense, building a digital nervous system for the entire planet. And that leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to think about. Once the whole world is online, what new possibilities are we going to unlock then?